Think about it like this. Back in the 1970s, politicians weren't really scared of inflation. They genuinely thought it was just a passing storm, a minor side effect of a growing economy. That is, until 1979. That year, a revolution in Iran didn't just send gas prices to the moon. It exposed the deeply cracked foundation of the entire global financial system. The fairy tale that inflation could be fixed with a few polite adjustments was shattered right in front of everyone's eyes. Central banks were suddenly forced to make a brutal choice: play nice to save their political seats, or inflict serious economic pain to win back the world's trust. Welcome to the hidden ledger. Today we're talking about the 1979 oil shock, not just as a sudden spike in gas prices, but as the dark moment the modern financial system was forced to look its own fragility in the mirror. To really understand 1979, we have to rewind the tape to 1971. That was the year President Richard Nixon went on television and severed the US dollar's tie to gold. Overnight, the safe, gold-backed financial system built after World War II was dead. The value of money wasn't anchored to a shiny metal in a vault anymore. It was anchored entirely to the word of politicians. And here is the catch. When a currency floats freely, the only thing that gives the market confidence is rock-solid discipline. But in the early 1970s, financial discipline was nowhere to be found. Then came the first real slap in the face: the 1973 oil embargo. Oil prices quadrupled in months, triggering something economists thought was impossible: stagflation. This meant skyrocketing unemployment combined with skyrocketing prices. The old economic playbook, which said if the economy slows down, just print more money to save it, went straight into the trash. But here's the secret that nobody tells you. Inflation isn't just a number on a screen. It's a behavioral virus. When people expect prices to be higher tomorrow, they demand higher wages today. Companies then raise their prices to pay those higher wages. The cycle starts feeding itself. And once that expectation is hardwired into the psychology of the public, you can't cure it with a quick massage. You need open heart surgery. And then Iran exploded. Early 1979, the Shah flees the country. Iran's oil production drops. Now, it only dropped global supply by about 4 or 5%. Sounds tiny, right? But the global oil market operates on such a tightrope that prices instantly doubled. A barrel of oil went from $15 to nearly $40. Because energy isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of everything. The cost of farming, manufacturing, shipping, it all shifted upwards. Inflation in the US hit nearly 14%. In the UK, it neared 18%. The dollar was tanking. Gold skyrocketed to over $800 an ounce because people were losing complete faith in paper money. The policymakers weren't managing the economy anymore. They were just chasing it. Right in the middle of this absolute panic, a man named Paul Volcker takes over the Federal Reserve. He was a giant cigar-smoking central banker who understood the harsh truth everyone else was too scared to face. Inflation wasn't a temporary cold. It was a cancer in the bones. In October 1979, Volcker made his ruthless move. He stopped trying to gently guide the economy and instead pushed interest rates to a mind-blowing 20%. Mortgage rates, credit cards, business loans, everything froze. This wasn't a gentle treatment. This was hooking the system up to an electroshock machine. The economy slammed into a brick wall. Unemployment crossed 10%. Factories shut down. Angry farmers literally drove their tractors to Washington and surrounded the Federal Reserve building in protest. And America didn't pay this bill alone. Developing countries, especially in Latin America, had borrowed cheap dollars throughout the 70s. When US interest rates hit 20%, their debt costs went straight to the moon. Countries like Mexico and Brazil went bankrupt practically overnight, kicking off a lost decade of hyperinflation and brutal IMF austerity programs. The shockwave spread everywhere because the system was now tied together by one fragile thread: credit. But Volcker didn't just lower inflation, he crushed it. By 1983, inflation in the US was below 4%. The dollar reigned supreme again. But the world that walked out of that crisis looked nothing like the world that went into it. Volcker fundamentally changed the rules of the game. The number one priority for governments was no longer full employment, it was credibility. After 1979, inflation became public enemy number one. Capital poured into America, Wall Street grew into an unstoppable giant, and the global economy turned into a massive engine running almost entirely on debt. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Would that same brute force work today? Think about it. Today, global debt is exponentially higher than it was in 1979. America's national debt alone is over 100% of its GDP. Everything is insanely interconnected. In 2022 and 2023, just like in '79, war and supply chain shocks sent energy prices flying. Inflation spiked into double digits again. Central banks panicked and hiked rates at the fastest pace in decades. The view looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? But there's one massive difference. When Volcker forced the world to swallow that bitter pill, the system actually had a little bit of breathing room to absorb a recession. Today, in a system drowning in debt up to its neck, every single rate hike carries the risk of blowing up a massive bank or a sovereign nation. 1979 taught us a bloody lesson. Defending your credibility is far more important than political comfort. But inside today's fragile mountain of debt, how do modern leaders restore trust without completely collapsing the system? Volcker accepted millions of people losing their jobs. He accepted recessions and bankruptcies. He held his ground. Do we have leaders with that kind of backbone today? In a moment of crisis, will they choose their comfortable seats or will they choose stability? History might not repeat itself word for word, but the math behind the money never changes. The rules of the game aren't rewritten on sunny days. They're forged in the middle of massive storms. If this video changed your perspective on how the system really works, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Do you think we are living through another 1979 right now? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next episode.